Hey guys, it's Jen, and I'm bringing you a layout today using some Elle Studio products, mainly the January kit, but also a few other things, which I'll show you in a second. First, I wanted to show you, this is for Sketch Thursday, and it is based on this sketch, and I'll try to insert a better photo of this here so that you can see it a little bit better, but it's based on an awesome layout by Melissa Mann, which is in the Design Team Gallery, so be sure to check it out. And I'll insert a photo here as well. But what I'm going to do, she used one large photo across the top, and I do have some larger photos, but I wanted to show you how you can also interpret that into something else if you don't have a large photo. So I'm going to use two 4x6 photos, and I'm going to use them across the top just like Melissa had her photo large on the top. So I'm using these two photos of my daughter riding a horse, and then I'm going to be using a few different papers, at least I think I am, from the Thankful and Joyful collections. So this pink one is from Thankful, and it's the Feathers paper. This black and cream polka dot, which is Stripes from the Thankful collection, and then this one called Shine Bright from the Joyful collection. And we'll see if I use all of them, but I might. And then, like I mentioned, most of the other stuff is from the January kits. So I have a few of the little cards. This is actually from the calendar set, which is super cute. On one side it has a cute little quote, and then on the other side a calendar. But the rest of the stuff is from the kit. So I've just got some hearts, some vellum hearts, some little tags, and the little 3x4 cards. And then I'll probably use one of these alphabets for it. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and get started and talk you through what I'm doing. So I'm going to start by cutting down that white sheet of cardstock because I want to create a border around that cardstock with the cream and black polka dot paper. And so I just cut 1/2 inch off either side, and I'm going to mount that onto my background. Now, if you didn't want to waste the paper in the middle, you could definitely cut out the center since most of it's being covered up, but I decided to keep it here. Now, I'm going to use some of these cards, and I want to I'm kind of following along with that original sketch, putting a little cluster at the top left and at the bottom right of the photos. And then I thought I would also create a huge cluster on the very bottom. And I'll end up changing this as I go along, but I'm thinking about it for now. I want to include just a little pop of green, and I like that So Awesome. It's kind of like a thought bubble, but it's square. And I like those hearts are like a deep pink, like you can see that paper on the left, almost a red color, so they could pull either red or pink, but I'm going to pull them as a pink color here. And so I'm just trying to include some of the colors in my layout. And sorry, just refocusing my camera there. And I cut this little piece that I'm sticking in up at the top that says Together. I cut that from the manufacturer strip that was on the bottom of that polka dot paper that's my background. And now I'm just kind of layering things up, trying to see how I can balance everything. Those red hearts really pack a punch, and so I want to make sure that they're distributed in a way that guides your eye around the layout how I want it to. So now I'm just working on my title. I'm putting these stickers on some wax paper so I can move it around before I commit to where I want to put it. And my title's going to be Remembering Horse Papa at Schow's Ranchette. And just to give a little bit of background, my husband's grandpa raised, bred, boarded, all that kind of stuff, Arabian horses. And he has since passed away, but his daughter now does that for him. And we had a little New Year's ride over at the Ranchette, and I'm just talking about that in the journaling and about how his grandpa's legacy lives on through her. For the larger part of my title, I'm using this really thin thicker font that's kind of a greenish, it's in between green and teal, and it's a rubbery font, and I like the way that it looks. So I have that green So Awesome thought bubble, and then I have some kind of aqua colored papers, and so this kind of bridges the gap between those two colors a little bit. And again, I'm just putting it all on wax paper so I can move it around while I decide exactly where I want it. And I'm just finishing that up, and I'm going to move it around here a little bit while I decide. And after I had my title down, I kind of was missing a little bit of the white space, and so I decided to take that huge cluster off of the side, and I'm thinking about not doing that. I added a little @ symbol there next to Horse Papa, and now I'm just thinking about a way that I can do maybe a bit of a smaller cluster. I like that tag that says important, and I'm going to put it down at the bottom to kind of create a visual triangle with those bright pink or red hearts. And I'm just going to staple that down, and I'm going to staple all of the vellum hearts to whatever they're on. And as I staple this heart to this little January highlights card, I cut off the bottom of it because I thought I might want to use it in another place on the layout, and that's a good way to kind of stretch these cards if you're using them on layouts, is to just cut them in half, and then you get a little pop of that color. You can have it in 2 places rather than just one. So I'm just going to start adhering everything to my background now, and I'm overlapping the photos slightly. They're 4x6, so they could stretch entirely across the layout, but I want to have a little bit of a border around the layout. So kind of in going along with my clusters and my layers, it's nice to layer up the photos a little bit too. Whenever I create layers, I always try to place them in an interesting way so that there are lines overlapping and that the corners of things end in an interesting way and not completely lined up with anything else. And so I'm just being mindful of that. I'm going to pop this little green piece up on some foam adhesive just to give it a little bit of dimension and something different. And I'll do that again with another piece a little bit later so that there's more than one thing popped up. I really wanted to use that little XOXO tab, but it doesn't make it on this layout. I'll save it for something else though. So I'm just going to adhere that down, and I was trying to decide if I wanted the little highlights card to poke up above the white cardstock, but I decided I wanted it contained within it. So here's that cute January calendar card I had at the beginning, and I was just trying to find a way that I could incorporate it, but it doesn't end up making it on the layout. I figured since I had the January highlights, I didn't need to add another thing that said January on it, and I didn't really need the calendar aspect, so I just got rid of it. But I will be making something fun with those, hopefully. So now I'm just laying down my title, and I'm just using the edge of the sticker sheet kind of lined up on the edge of my paper to make sure I get it straight, because my photos are tilted, and so I just want to make sure that I get the title straight. One thing I love about using a sketch is that you've already got the foundation of your layout decided for you, and so you can just spend your time on the details and kind of playing around with the fun stuff. And so this layout really didn't take me very long at all, maybe half an hour or so. And I'm going to skip ahead so you don't have to watch me lay all those letters down. And I'm just thinking I need something above that right hand photo. So I thought about that bright pink paper, which I pulled out at the beginning, but I thought it was a little too heavy and I didn't want it to compete with the hearts, so I decided on the light pink stars. And I'm also going to incorporate that into my little bottom cluster so that there is some unity across the layout. So I'm just going to slide that in here, and I know that I have a pink label next to it, but it's a little bit of a different shade and I think it still works. So I was thinking about changing that label, but I decided to just keep it. And now I am putting this little, it used to be a tag, I cut off the top for another layout, but it says this right here. And that brings in a little bit of an element of the gray, which is good because I have that gray in the title. And now I'm just thinking about what else I might want to do. So now I'm thinking, I know I want the word remembering before the words Horse Papa, and so I'm thinking about using these gray stickers again to spell that out, but I will decide against this in the end. And I like using the wax paper because then I can see what it looks like before actually committing to it. And you'll see that once I kind of play around with it, there wasn't really a good spot for it. It's a little too big. It might have worked right above it, but I wasn't loving it, so I just decided to handwrite it. I'm using my favorite black Muji pen. I buy these on Amazon, and it's a really fine tipped pen from Japan, and I love it. And so I just wrote that in some cursive, and now I'm going to fix my title because it was a little bit crooked. And then I'm going to draw some journaling lines with that ruler while I have it out. And I have kind of a lot that I want to say, and in some cases I would type this up, but I just felt like handwriting it today. And so I'm just going to draw some lines, and then I'll skip ahead so you don't have to watch me do the whole journaling. But if you want to read it, you can check out the photos on the Elle Studio blog at shopellestudio.com/blog. It'll be up for the Thursday sketch. So I'm just going to go all the way down to kind of the bottom layer of that cluster because like I said, I have a lot to say, and then I'll just do my journaling. And then I thought that there was a weird space off to the right now, so I'm bringing back some of those cards, but now they're a little too large. Because I kept that January highlights card contained within the white on the top, I need to do that same thing down here. And so I'm just looking through some of the different stuff from the kit and from different past collections to see what I might be able to include here. I brought back that January card. I kind of like the way that looks, but I'm going to play around with a few different options before I decide what I want to do. And I'm going to cut this little heart card up because I thought I might do that, but it just doesn't end up working for me. So in the end, I'm going to choose this bottom piece that I cut off the January highlights card, and I'm going to cut it up and just create a little place where I can stamp my date. And I'm just going to use my Project Life roller date stamp to stamp January 1st. And that is pretty much going to complete my layout. Off camera, I will also add some gray ink splatters, and that is going to finish things off. I hope that you've enjoyed and that you'll go ahead and check out the sketch over at Elle Studio, the Elle Studio blog on shopellestudio.com/blog. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.